Hello YouTube, Dave here again. Welcome back to another installment of Starter Set Saturdays, the video series where I look at the starter sets in my collection as voted on by you guys, the viewers. At this point in time, the next video in the series has pretty well been decided, so I will be putting up a new poll to determine what the video will be after that one. But today we're going to be taking a look at the Pathfinder 2nd Edition Beginner Box. Now, this specific one that I'm looking at today is the 2024 Remaster, which came out in March of 2024. The original version of the Beginner Box released in November of 2020. This retails for, or did retail for, $44.99 US. Now, when it comes to these sets that have previous versions or like previous editions would have had like something similar, like first edition had a beginner box as well, which I can't remember if I've looked at on this channel or not. I think I did. I know I did the Starfinder one, I think, but I don't know. It's been a while since I've been started hunting this series, so I'll have to go through and look at the list again. But what I want to do with these videos, especially like going forward, is to review these sort of in a vacuum, right? I don't want to have knowledge of the first edition set kind of affect the review of the product that I have in front of me. I have started a new series called Starter Set Showdown, which I came up with the title after I recorded the first video. But basically it'll look at, two similar box sets, from either the same edition or like from, previous edition to the current one, and sort of do a comparison as we sort of unbox and look at the individual components and sort of determine which one I prefer more. It's not really like a score-based thing. It's just, a few different categories that I'll look at and, see which one I prefer at the end of the day. So I'm not going to be reviewing this based off of information about the first edition beginner box and what was contained in there. There might be some references to things that are different between this and the other, but I didn't use my knowledge of the first edition set to influence this one, right? Like I said, I kind of want them to exist in a vacuum. If this was the first thing you ever picked up, you're not going to base that off of knowledge of something that you didn't know existed before, right? So that's what we're going to take a look at today, sort of this in isolation. So with that in mind, let's get right into the presentation aspect of this. So the presentation, of course, you can see that we have some pretty cool artwork on the front here. We got like the green dragon, and we have our iconic characters sort of attacking it here. And I do love the green coloration, sort of like the green and with the brownish or tannish, whatever color you want to call that, border. I'm a guy, I don't know a lot of different color names, but yeah, it's really cool looking artwork. And then on the side of the box, we do have some of the characters there. And on the back of the box, we get a really nice layout and formatting here. I actually really like the way that this looks, because you get an overview of everything that's in the box here in this nice, neat little corner. We have the dragon here again. Gives you a little blurb to kind of hype you up about what the product is. And then what's included here. This information, this is kind of like more board game stuff, and it's definitely going to take you more than an hour to play through this, so I don't know why they kind of put that on there. Yeah, you're definitely going to get more than an hour of gameplay out of this product. But anyway, so really nice looking, cover art and everything here. Let's take a look on the insides, and we're just going to go through just a couple of things here. Again, we're looking at the presentation, not the production quality so far. So again, nice eye-catching game aids. I'll read this first here, and then you have some really nice artwork in the books themselves. All right, so you got some really cool cover art there. The character stacking another dragon, and the character sort of sitting around a tavern there, while some seedy characters kind of like look on as to what they're doing. Actually, it's just the rogue character. Actually, it's not even the rest of the party. It's just the rogue character sort of doing that. But yeah, again, some really nice artwork kind of scattered throughout these books here. So, presentation, and there's a nice, beautifully illustrated poster map, which we'll take a look at here. Actually, it's a flip map, not a poster map, that we'll take a look at here in a moment. But basically, the presentation is fantastic with this product. Very eye-catching, very beautifully illustrated throughout. So, as well as like the books being formatted well, easy to read, easy to follow. The character sheets are also color coded, with the with like or color and letter coded, I guess I should say, so that you know exactly like what section is what on the character sheet to help you understand that. So, I'm going to give the presentation aspect of this an 8 out of 10. So that was the presentation, but let's take a look at the production quality now. So we're going back to the box. This is a nice, sturdy box with like really, decently thick cardstock here. I'm not really worried about this coming apart or anything like that. I do have some box sets that are like almost paper thin. So yeah, these ones are really, really nice. You do have your plastic bases. You do have the production here. The dice are basic, but again, they are color-coded so that you'll know which one is which. And it's when you're teaching beginners, you tell them what the die type is, like to roll the d20. But it's also, when they ask which one that is, it's always easy to say, okay, it's the red one. And then they can pick that up, they can roll it in. The more they interact with the dice, the more they'll become comfortable with which type is which. The game aids here, these are nice thick cardstock as well, and they are glossy so that you could write stuff on there if you needed to. So like you could use dry erase markers on these things if you really needed to, and you're given 6 of these, so you can have one for each player. Typically the player size is 4 characters, 4 players for the group, and then the 1 game master. So the game master could have one, or you could have a larger group, although we'll see later that there are tokens supplied to go on these different actions after you've used them. And there's enough for 4 players, but that's where it sort of cuts off. So if you did have a larger group, then you'd want to use your dry erase markers and just sort of check off the ones that you use there. But you do have that option, so that's really, really cool. Even like the posters in here, like the read this first and the advertisement for like what's to come next, which is normally on the bottom of the box there, with the Pathfinder Society. Even these are like really nice and glossy, just high quality production there. The books are also, again, very, very well done, because they have like the soft cover, but they are there's like an actual like binding on them here. I think it's just a glue binding, but it's still, they're nice thick books, and their covers are also, again, sort of a nice thick cardstock as well. They're not just the same paper that the rest of the pages are. So again, it's really cool to kind of see that. Again, just some really nice quality. Like so, the production on those is really nice. And then we got the character sheets, which is just basic paper. I mean, I don't know what you'd expect for something like that, but you can use these to you got the characters, the different characters. You've got everything kind of done out in a way that looks like it's kind of handwritten, which is kind of neat. And then you've got like the breakdown of what each section of the character sheet is to help beginners sort of understand how to read the characters and all that. And then the back of the thing just has the character background. So we have our 4 basic characters here: Valeros the Fighter, Ezrin the Wizard, Kaya the Cleric, and Marisol the Rogue. And then we also have a number of blank character sheets. And yeah, like so, I meant to say that they were letter coded. They're not. They're definitely not color coded, but they are letter coded. And I think I've got these ones backwards here. So let's yeah. But yeah, again, really nice, really easy format to follow. Again, you've got the book that tells you what the different sections are if you're not using the pre-gen characters, or you can just use the pre-gen, so you have those options as well. Then we've got our double-sided flip mat here. And I'm not going to fold this out fully because I just don't have room to show it all on camera. But this is double-sided, and both sides are dedicated to the adventure locations found in the adventure in the Game Master's book. So you're going to be able to have like really cool representation of what's going on in the adventure at your table. There is a downside that it would have been nice if one side had the first area map on it, and then the other side was blank, so that you could just use like dry erase markers to draw in the dungeon, and that way that map would be usable outside of just the contents of the beginner box. But at the same time, you do get a really visually, beautifully looking illustrated double-sided map. And these can be reused later on. Like, you don't have to use it once and never touch it again. I've reused maps in multiple different games, even in the same campaign. The same map may be used more than once, so it can be done. And again, the quality is really nice. Like, this is something that you would pay like $16 US to have included, maybe even more. Like, I think the Canadian prices are in the $20 range for these double-sided flip mats. But yeah, really nice quality. Again, you can use dry wet erase markers on there. And then you also have a sheet of tokens, or multiple character and NPC and monster pawns that you can use with the plastic bases included. And here you can sort of see like the tokens for the move actions and the reactions. So you get, 4 sheets here, a decent selection. You've got your iconic characters. Where are our iconic characters? Oh, you got your iconic characters on the bottom here. And then you just have a whole bunch of like player character options if you were to make your own. Like dwarf wizard, elf wizard, female, male, dwarf wizard, male, female, the rogue. So you got a pretty decent selection of everything here to be able to make like really cool characters, and to have, again, like all kinds of creatures in here for you to use throughout the pre-written adventure, as well as adventures that you may design. But we'll sort of touch on that again in a moment. So as far as like production quality goes, again, everything in here is really top notch. And I don't have any complaints about like the production quality of anything in here. So I'm going to give this a 9 out of 10. Just a really well put together box, like excellent production on everything. Paizo makes some really high quality, starter set or beginner box products. So yeah, 9 out of 10 for that one. All right, the next thing we're going to move on to is going to be the rules quality. So that is from the rule booklet here. And again, they did a really solid job with this particular aspect of the beginner box. So you have, again, really easy to follow, well formatted. You start with a solo adventure that you can go through that teaches you the basic mechanics of the game, an example of play, and then you get into like the core concepts of the game. You got your dice on here. And again, just really easy to follow progress for creating your own characters. You've got the different ancestries available, and then that goes into each one in detail there. The backgrounds that you can choose, and again, it tells you where to fill those in on your character sheet, so really well done there. And then we've got our 4 classes. We have the cleric, and then it gives them their spells as they appear while they're going through the different levels. We got the fighter, the rogue, the wizard. So those are our 4 classes, and they are supported from level 1 through level 3. So by the time you complete the scenario that's included in the Game Master's book, you should reach level 2, but there's still plenty more opportunity for adventure that we'll sort of touch on when we take a quick look at the Game Master's book here. But you've got like weapons, armor, adventuring gear. Again, how to how the system works, like the rules, the skills, descriptions. So you get all kinds of great information in this booklet here. And then for the Game Master Guide, once you've completed the adventure, there's great information on like building and designing your own adventures, drawing maps, sort of like the map symbols and what certain things mean, like the spiral staircase, or like doors, maps. Not maps, but doors on the map, archways, double doors. So just how to draw these things in, how to draw in fireplaces, beds. Thrones, just all kinds of really cool information. These are like the symbols that I use when I'm drawing my maps. I've been doing it for years, but for beginners, this is really great to have, so that like their maps are easy to read and easy to follow. So it gives you some like adventure ideas, advice on building encounters, how to reward the players, how different environments can affect things in your scenarios. So there's a lot of like really great rules-based information in here, and you can get lots and lots of gameplay just from these two books. Even if you don't use the pre-written adventure, if you want to design your own stuff from the very beginning, like, you have that option available to you, and there's some great advice on how to do that. There's monsters included that are not in the base scenario, so that you can use them in later situations, and them be like new enemies for the players to go up against. So the rules are very well done. It does include character creation. So in this series, if you have pre-gens and character creation, I don't subtract points from not having character creation, but I will always add a point for character creation because it gives you that option, especially if there's pre-gens also available. Because that way it gives you choices, it gives you the ability to just play out of the box, or if one of your characters dies, then the player can make a new one to replace that other character. So I'm going to give the rules quality an 8 out of 10 altogether. So it does support levels 1 through 3. Now this is where there is a little bit of an issue with this particular box set, and again, I want to review this more or less in a bubble, but there are level 4 options for the beginner box, which would have been really nice to have been included in the beginner box, but you'd have to purchase the Troubles in Otari adventure, which retailed for $22.99, which also does come with a flip mat, which on its own retails for $14.99. And this has the level 4 rules in there for the player characters that for the character classes that are in the starter set here. So, like I said, you got like your level 4 clerics, you got your level 4 fighter, level 4 rogue, and again your level 4 wizard. So it would have been nice to have had that included in the base rules, the base box set. Level 1 through 3 is fine, it's decent. It's more than some other sets get. Again, I'm trying to review this sort of in isolation. But it is hard to ignore the fact that there's a whole other level of progression that you could play through that is included in a separate purchase. And we'll talk sort of more on how that affects the overall review a little bit later on. But for now, 8 out of 10 for the rules. I think they did an excellent job with it. And then we've got the adventure quality. So the pre-written adventure that comes with this is fairly basic, but, a decent setup and, a pretty cool way of just sort of getting the players involved. They go to a fishery where there's, giant rats that are attacking or that are eating, like, the supplies. But after you deal with them, like, there's still this other way to go. Like, there's this hole in the wall that leads further down, and basically it relies sort of on the player's curiosity at first to see if they will go further down and find out what's happening. Like, maybe the rats were actually driven out of where they were, and it's possible to relay this information that the rats were driven away from their home by something else, right? And then you sort of go through the rest of the adventure here. And I don't mind that approach. It's pretty standard for like the beginner boxes, but again, where this product really shines is once that pre-written adventure is over, it gives you an idea of how to format an adventure and a scenario, which is very, very helpful. And then you've got all that advice. Whoops, didn't mean to hit the camera there. And then you've got all that advice on how to create your own adventures after that, right? And the tools that you need to do that are included in this beginner box. So, it's the idea of the adventure is fairly standard and straightforward, but well executed. The adventure book also having advice on how to design your own adventures, draw your own maps, what to include, what to avoid, environmental considerations, things that other starter sets don't go into that much detail on. I'm going to give the adventure quality, with the potential of creating your own adventures off of the solid information included in here, I'm going to give that an 8 out of 10 as well. And then we're going to come to the final component for this review, and that is the value for your cost here. So again, this is $44.99 US is what this would retail at. So are you getting $45 worth of enjoyment out of this particular box set? And, I think that they did a really solid job of giving you great value for your dollars, right? So, it's kind of looking at like what some of these things might be priced at individually, if they were to do that. So like the map is around $15-16 US. what do we got here? Yeah, be around $15 US. Each of these booklets on their own would probably be around $19.99 if they were to be sold on their own. Right, so that's $20, that's $40 with the map. You've got $55 worth of material there. You do have, again, the dice, which is probably be, if you were to buy these, they'll probably be another $6 to $7 on their own. And I would say you might be able to get another $15 to $16 out of the tokens that are included in here. So I think overall they did a really solid job, justifying the cost of this set. Some sets, just because they're more expensive, right? Like, or just because they include a lot of stuff, can be great. But if they're way overpriced for what you're getting, that can be sort of a detriment here. Again, the major downsides of this is that one of these flip mat sides is not blank for you to be able to draw your own dungeons and your own scenarios into out of the box, which would have been a nice inclusion. The other, again, downside is that there is the level 4 character option available, but it's through a separate purchase. And then you kind of have to wonder, like, if going through level 4 to reach level 5 progression, which would be done through the core rulebooks, if it's really going to be worth the extra cost, right? So it's $23 for the book, which does include adventures. There are 3 other scenarios in here that you can use to basically get your characters from level 1 up to being ready for the core rules just with this one product. So 3 adventures for $23 is not a bad price at all. It's under $10 per adventure, which that's pretty decent pricing. And then you've got, if you want to include the map, you can do that as well for another $15, which just gives you a couple of the adventure locations included in here. But you also get like an entire new level of progression. So, you got to weigh if that's going to be worth it for you. I wish that the level 4 rules were in, either the level 4 rules were in the basic beginner box, or that the Troubles in Otari would have had level 4 and 5, so to give you a couple levels of progression that you could have used by doing the extra purchase to justify it a little bit more. But overall, the components are all well done. They're all very high quality, and they would be worth more individually than what you're paying for the box at retail. So I'm going to say that I'm giving the value for cost a total of an 8 out of 10 as well. And that's going to bring us to our final score for the Pathfinder 2nd edition beginner box there. This is the remastered re-release that came out in 2024. The 2020 version is very similar, just a few enemy types were changed because of the situation where Paizo distanced themselves from the OGL, so things like Drow that were in the original set had been replaced in this one here. But the basic contents are still the same, and overall, I'm going to give this an 8.2 out of 10. So taking all the other scores and averaging them together gives me an 8.2 out of 10. So again, the downsides are that you don't have the blank map to work with, or the level 4 progression being hidden behind an additional paywall. However, the positive sides is that you do get pre-gens or character creation, so you can play straight out of the box, or you can actually take time to customize your experience, which is always a great set of options to have. It does include great tools for creating your own adventures, and again, it's high production quality, which will give you hours and hours of enjoyment for your $45. So, you probably get a couple sessions out of the adventure itself. That's included just in the pre-written one. You probably get, another, 3 to 4 sessions, just out of the material that you can sort of create on your own as well. So you're getting a lot of bang for your buck when it comes to that. And overall, yeah, really, really solid beginner box product. So 8.2 out of 10 is well above and beyond, the bare minimum that you'd expect for an introductory product. So well done Paizo. Let me know in the comments below, have you picked up the Pathfinder 2nd edition beginner box? If so, what were your thoughts on it? Did you go through the adventure? Did you use the pre-gens or create your own characters? Did your game master use the rules and guidelines for creating their own scenarios to create further adventures, or did they pick up the Troubles in Otari book for those pre-written adventures to continue with and have the level 4 character progression thrown in there as well. So thank you all very much for your time. I appreciate it, and we will see you in the next one. Until then, take care.